You never know. You never know. I mean, I think the coolest thing that I think the reason why it's doing so well is, I mean, obviously Brian is an amazing musician and lyricist, and like I think it's super honest, and people see it. You know what I mean? It's not like it's like this contrived thing. Like you can tell that it's just an honest. Here's everything. I'm just gonna put it all out here without trying not to sound conceited, but I think it's a lot. It's what a lot of people need right now, especially like people that are like still in the same thing, but are getting older and things are changing, and like this year is so mentally draining on so many people. But I also think that it is a record that can relate to younger kids that don't necessarily see those things in the lyrics like an older person would. Like I think musically and all that, it like definitely clicks with younger people.
Hey, welcome to episode 9 of the Codec Projects podcast. This week we're talking to Aaron Dulbeck. Most people probably know Aaron from bands such as Bane and Be Well. He also did some time at Converge, but you might not know that he has a coffee roasting company called Essex Coffee Roasters. We talk about a lot of different things in this episode, such as getting into hardcore and skateboarding, playing at Converge, Bane, and Be Well, but also there's a lot of talk about coffee. I think you'll like this one. Sit back and enjoy.
Aaron Dalbec. I played guitar in Bane for about 20 years. Played in 10 Yard Fight for about 2 years, maybe.
Something like that.
I was at Converge for about 8 or 9 years. And currently I'm in Be Well. And we haven't done anything in a long time, but I'm still currently in that band Only Crying, but we haven't done anything. We've been on hiatus for about 5 years. And I also have a coffee roasting company, Essex Coffee Roasters.
Dude, you were in Converge for that long? I didn't realize that.
Yeah. It's 8 years, yeah.
It's crazy how long that they were a band. Because you weren't part of the original lineup, correct?
No, right. I joined right after that very first 7-inch. That sounds like Biohazard.
Okay, yeah. And I remember Jake and Kurt we grew up just a town over from them. And I think it was Converge, but just under a different name. I feel like they went through different incarnations until they kind of landed on something.
Yeah.
Which you do. I mean, when you're young, that's what you do. And then you figure shit out, whether it's a band or whatever it is, you know?
Yeah. It takes a long time to hash it out and get it the way you want it to be, you know?
Yeah. So then obviously Bane, that was a long run.
Yeah.
A lot of people know about Bane, but what was because the documentary just came out.
Yeah.
What was the actual reason that you guys stopped doing it? Because it seemed like you had some second thoughts when it came time to.
For sure. Like the closer it came to the end, we definitely had second thoughts. But so essentially, Bane had always been a band that just loved touring more than writing music. Like we loved writing music, but the aspect of the band that we loved the most was getting out and playing shows more than writing music. Hence the reason why we only had such a little amount of music for being a band for 20 years. But it got to the point where like Stu, the guy who was playing bass towards the very end, not the very end, but the second to last bass player, he was expecting his second daughter. Bob was getting really busy with his kids, and my wife and I were planning on having a kid. So we knew we couldn't get out and stay out full-time as a full-time touring band. It just wasn't going to work with us getting older. Because, I mean, we would go out for 8 months a year.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pedal to the metal pretty much the whole time. We never slowed down, really. And some people in the band didn't want to do it. They wanted to do full-time or just not do anything at all. And we were just kind of like, all right, then let's just figure out what the end's going to be, and that'll be it, you know? And when we wrote the last record, we knew we wanted to write one more record and then tour everywhere we wanted to do. And when we started writing the record, we actually didn't know if it was going to be an EP or an LP. We were just going to write. If it's 3 songs and that we love them, awesome. And then we got in there, and that was the first time we sat down and really wrote like we did since like Give Blood. Like we all wrote together, all in the same room. Like every single week we'd practice, and then next thing we knew, we had like 8 songs. And we're like, well, I guess we're writing an LP. Like,
Well, that sounds like kind of the approach you guys took in general to writing music. It was more about quality over quantity and no
yeah,
filler, you know? So,
yeah. I mean, I understand the bands that are doing it. How can I put? I'm not saying they do it.
you don't do it intentionally ever. I don't think you ever intentionally do it, but sometimes
No,
it's like you're pressured to deliver a certain amount.
to be on like the record cycle. Like you have to
Yeah.
put a record out every like 2 years because there's bands that literally tour and they go to the same places over and over again. And they have to put new records out to be able to maintain the crowds, you know?
Hmm.
But we just never cared about that. But we also went to a lot of places. Like we didn't hit the same places 3 times a year. You know, we went to like as many places as we could all the time, you know?
It seems almost like a good blueprint to follow, especially these days when record sales aren't really the thing that does it. It's more the live. Well, not this year, but
Yeah.
in general, the last, the trend has been. It seems like it's more of a live thing than a recorded.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And I mean, you like get plays on Spotify and get like 100th of a penny or some
Yeah.
bullshit like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, totally get. I mean, if I look back, like, I mean, some parts of me like I wish Bane would have wrote more music, but at the same time, besides like actual recording quality, I don't think we're not bummed about anything. You know, like I would hate to look back and be like, oh, why do we record this record? Or like we like one song off this record. You know what I mean?
Right.
That would have been. That
No,
would have
I
been.
hear you. I hear you. No, that makes sense. Let's step back for a second. How did you even get into hardcore? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Marlboro,
Okay.
so like probably like 45 minutes south from you,
Okay.
right down 495. And then I mean I mean my parents still live in the house that I grew up in. I mean, I lived about 20 minutes, 25 minutes from Worcester. So
Which is, for anyone who doesn't know, so that's probably from Boston. That's like an hour maybe?
hour, yeah. It's
Okay.
about an hour.
Hour west.
Yeah, straight on the Mass Pike.
Okay.
And so I was I have one older sibling, one brother, and then I have 2 cousins from my mom's side, and we were all really close, 4 of us. And the older cousin was my brother's age, and my other cousin Joe, he was 6 months older than me, and he got into like he was more into like metal and like really into like Sam Hain and the Misfits before I really knew much about it. This is probably like 8th grade.
Okay.
So it's probably like 87-ish.
So you probably had pretty cool hair at this point, I'm guessing.
Me? Yeah, I had, well, not yet. I was just like a skater dude that really didn't know much. And then like he started getting into that, and I got into it to punk rock and hardcore. Well, more metal from him, but then to like punk, like Sam Hain type stuff.
You didn't have a mullet in 8th grade? Because I definitely had a mullet.
Oh, I definitely had a mullet. Yeah. But then once I get into it, that mullet turned into a devil lock.
Okay, there you go.
Like my freshman year of high school.
Nice.
So it was a quick transformation.
Yeah, I went from mullet to like I think I had I just called it the Lollapalooza, but it was basically the thing that you do before you're kind of afraid to just shave your head or do anything, so you just kind of shave around the sides like halfway up.
Yeah.
The top still looked the same as it did with the mullet. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then I just shaved it off. So it was like a month later.
You're just like, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's the one who started getting me to go to shows and get into the music. And it just kind of took off from there. And he played guitar. And he was always like, you should play bass. And I was like, I'm not going to play bass. I want to play guitar. And he used to always try to get me to play bass. But I just stuck with guitar. And yeah, I loved it ever since.
And so what kind of shows were you going to at that point?
Mostly like it's funny because like in Worcester, all right, so there's a place called the WAG, which is the
Yeah.
Worcester Arts Group. We used to go there. This place called the QVCC, and then there used to be a radio show in Worcester called the Speed Zone,
Okay.
WCUW, WCUW. I forget what it was, but every Sunday they'd have like a radio show, but they would have shows there in the radio station. So it was like those three places we'd go, and the coolest thing, as I'm sure I'm used to go to some shows in Worcester,
Yeah.
but like, way back, like it didn't matter, like there was no like genre, and I know it sounds like kind of
No, I know what you're saying exactly.
like like a perfect example would be like Overcast would play with this old Worcester band called Thundercock, and they would play with like the Curtain Society, which is like this weird like Cure type band. Like all those bands played together. It didn't matter.
That
which
was
really cool.
Yeah, that was like my first shows too. And there'd be kids pogoing, and then kids just trying to quote unquote mosh, at the same time.
Yeah. And I used to go like the WAG. I literally would go every single weekend, sometimes Friday and Saturday, and my parents would drop me off. And I literally had no idea who was playing. I would just go because I knew there would be a show.
Yeah. No, that sounds right. Did you ever see Circus Puppies play at the WAG?
Yes.
Did you really?
Yes.
That's awesome. Pretty sure I was at least, I don't know how many times I played there, but I was there once.
Yeah, I was probably there.
That's funny.
I probably have the calendar at my parents' house somewhere. Like a box of flyers.
That's awesome. So how did you get from going to these random shows to playing in bands? What was the first thing you tried to do?
I was in high school and I used to, Trey McCarthy, who runs Death Wish with Jake, I've known him. He's a year older than me.
Okay.
You're 2 years older than me. He was in my brother's class. So 2 years older than me. And, I've known Trey since I was 5.
Wow. Okay.
Like I've known him my whole life essentially. And like him and my brother were friends and they weren't. And then like him and I became friends and we used to skate all the time. And we just had a lot of the same mutual friends. And I think he actually randomly or one of this guy Steve that used to sing in a band with him was like, hey, we should do a band together. And it was just like this random thing honestly. And it was me and Trey. And then nothing really was a solid. And then this guy Dickie Cummings sang, it was a band called Knockdown. And we played for I think we were around for like 2, maybe 3 years at the most. Like we recorded demos, and then I did a 7-inch on my very first record label, and I released it with it was like Converge, Knockdown, Chokehold, and Bound from Fitchburg.
Okay.
But that was the only thing Knockdown ever put out was that one song. Like the rest was just demos, and that was it.
Well, it's pretty good company to be in, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I remember hearing about Knockdown. I don't know if I ever saw you guys play.
We played the WAG a few times, and then we played. I think our last show was at the QVCC with Lifetime and Split Lip.
Okay.
In 93 or something like that, or 94. It was early 90s.
Was it Split Lip or Chamberlain?
Oh, it was Split Lip. It was still Split Lip. Yeah.
Yeah. So then so where'd that go from? What happened with that?
With that, I was actually Knockdown was still together, and that's how I got to know the dudes in Converge, because we played a couple of shows together.
Okay.
Then I became friends with them, and they were looking for another guitar player, and I joined the band. And then Knockdown had broke up, and I was in Converge for a couple of years. I must have joined Converge in 93.
Okay.
Because I remember, because we were playing shows, and then Jeff Feinberg, the original bass player, he was going to school in Montreal.
I'm sorry, did he have a brother named Ryan?
I I don't
Yeah,
know.
all right. I think that name sounds super familiar. I probably know him.
Sure, he's an only child.
Yeah. If he's from Andover, I probably do know him.
Yeah, he's from up there. He's from Andover. I don't know, Andover or North Andover, one of the two.
Yeah.
Um,
They're different. Don't get it confused. Definitely different towns.
oh, definitely different. Is it Tewksbury or how do you say it?
I say Tewksbury,
Okay.
but I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, Massachusetts towns like.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I was in Converge back then, and in 94, 95, Jeff was going to school in Montreal, and this was pre-internet, obviously, really.
Yeah.
And we were like, "There's no way the band can continue," so Converge broke up because Jeff was going to school in Montreal.
Okay.
And Damon and I, the original drummer, the long hair guy, I had been writing songs to do this other band, and that was the beginning of Bane.
Okay.
So yeah, it must have been in end of 94, the beginning of 95 when Converge broke up, because Damon and I were writing songs because Converge had been broken up, and started Bane. Damon and I just started writing, and then Bedard, I got in touch with Bedard in September of 95 about the band.
I didn't remember Converge breaking up. Converge just always seemed like how do I put this? Just always there, and not even a band, just a
thing.
A thing that's always going to be around, no matter what.
Yeah.
And always was. It was like it was one of the first bands I remember being around, as far like and for me it was a local band, and then it's just a living, breathing organism that won't stop. I don't want to say won't go away because that sounds like a bad thing, but yeah. So I don't even remember them breaking up.
I think we might have just been like, oh, we're going to go on hiatus or what. I don't remember what it was. I don't remember. And I mean, at that point, nobody really cared. Like, it wasn't like we did all right locally, but we never did.
It wasn't Converge the way we know Converge now. Yeah.
No.
Converge.
Yeah. So yeah, then Bane started, and Bane was always just like put on the back burner whenever Converge needed to do stuff, and then things started getting busier and busier.
Off.
So in 2001, I left Converge, and Bane just started going full on, and and Bane really didn't stop at all from 2001 on till the end. In like 2003. We did a short tour with Strike Anywhere and Good Riddance, and I met Russ from Good Riddance, and we became really good friends, mostly talking about coffee and hockey, and then became really good friends. And at the end of the tour, he's like, "Hey, you and I should start a project together." I was like, "Yeah, sure," because I mean, as I'm sure you know, there's so many people are always like, "Yeah, we should do something," and it never pans out.
Right.
And then a few months later, he's like, "I got Zach to play guitar." There's Zach Blair was in Hagfish.
Okay.
And now plays guitar in Rise Against. He's like, yeah, Zach's gonna play guitar, and Pete was gonna play was playing bass at the beginning, and then Good Riddance was recording their record at the time, and he was like, Bill wants to play drums, and I was like, holy shit, this is fucking amazing. Like,
it's like
it was funny because he called me in the middle of the night, and I answered my phone. He's like, "Hey, this is Russ, blah blah blah." I was like, "Do you want Bill to play drums?" And I was like, "Yeah." And it didn't click till like the next morning. I was like, "Holy shit! Like, this is awesome!" Yes, of course. And then so that Only Crime started in like 2004,
which is another punk supergroup, which I it's like Be Well.
Yeah. But we never really played it that way, and we never wanted it to be like, even with Be Well, we don't want it to be like that.
No, I know. I'm just.
But yeah,
because that was the headline I saw today from, I think it was Brooklyn Vegan, punk supergroup.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that was awesome. I love playing in Only Crime. Everybody, now that Bane has ended, like, everybody had nothing to do when Bane was busy. So like it could only be when I was home with Bane. And now that I'm home, everybody else is, I mean, obviously not this year, like you said before, But
Right.
previous to COVID,
Yeah.
everybody else was super busy with their other stuff. So Only Crime kind of got on the back burner.
Yeah. It's just more of a project.
Yeah, yeah.
And then what about Be Well? How did that come to be?
So we were, so in 2000, no, February 2019, or somewhere around that, end of the winter of 2019, my wife got an offer for an apprenticeship down in Maryland that was going to be for a year. So we decided to up and move down there. And it was literally like, I think Battery had gone to do a European tour in the summer of 2019.
Okay.
And he had Brian or Mike or somebody had posted something. And I just like jokingly comment, I was like, bring me with you. I miss playing.
Hmm.
And then literally like 2 weeks later, Mike Schleibaum hit me up and he's like, hey, me and Brian have this new thing. Do you want to check it out? And I was like, sure. So Brian sent me the songs and I instantly was like, this is awesome. And they're like, yeah, you're living in Maryland now. You should do it. I was like, cool. They're like, you're going to play bass though. And I was like, all right, cool. I haven't played bass since the Bane demo, but cool. Like,
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. Is how do you feel? I mean, obviously, no. It's got to be different playing live to playing bass than playing guitar. I feel like it gives you might have. I would think you'd have a little bit more freedom to.
yeah,
Not that you couldn't. You were good enough at playing guitar that you probably didn't hold you back much. But I feel like with bass, not to put bass players down at all, but I feel like if you're a really good guitar player, then it's kind of a weight off to play bass when you're playing live. Like it's not as much weight on your shoulders, I guess.
yeah, it definitely is a little bit easier once you get used to playing the bass because it is so much different. It's the same, but it's so much different. Like after the first two shows, like we played two shows in a row, and like my picking hand was like so in so much pain because like picking is so much different than the guitar.
Heavier, like
Yeah,
more,
like
yeah.
yeah, it's weird. But now that we've been playing for like a year and a half, that now I'm actually used to it. So, and now the cool thing is when I pick up guitar, it seems so much easier and so much smaller.
Okay.
I'm like, this is like nothing now. Like, so it's cool. I like it though. It was weird at first, but I'm definitely enjoying it.
Yeah.
I miss guitar by 1,000%, but it's fun to play bass.
Well, that's cool. So, have you guys done any tours yet, or
No,
no?
we did like 2 weekend. We did a weekend with H2O. We've only played like 7 shows,
Okay.
and we had a bunch of shows planned before this hit. Like we were supposed to do like a long weekend with the Movie Life. We were supposed to do a long weekend with Field Day, 2 weekends with Field Day. We had a bunch of our own shows booked. Like we were going to do a record release show down in DC. And obviously all that stuff fell apart, you know?
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, we were supposed to go to Europe in February. It never even got announced, but we were supposed to go in February. Like we planned that way before the COVID even became, almost like a year ago.
Right.
We were planning it. And then that was got moved to May. We were going to move to May. And then in September, we were like, there's no way May's going to even happen, you know?
Yeah.
So we moved it to hopefully the end of October of next year, which is insane to think about. But
Well, it should be good because people are going to be hungry for it, and that record's fucking amazing. So
yeah, we're blown away with the feedback from it because, like, legitimately, like, we didn't expect anything. Because you can't.
Well, you never know, but
You never know. You never know. I mean, I think the coolest thing I think the reason why it's doing so well is, I mean, obviously Brian is an amazing musician and lyricist, and like, I think it's super honest, and people see it. You know what I mean? It's not like it's like this contrived thing. Like, you can tell that it's just an honest, here's everything. I'm just going to put it all out here.
Yeah, the lyrics they're definitely not generic. That's for sure. I mean, they're real. they feel real. Like you
Yeah.
were saying, they feel honest and um
Relatable, especially now.
relatable, but in a way that's almost brave for him to say a lot of the shit that he's saying. You know, it's I don't know, and I feel as when I was younger, I probably wouldn't have got it. You know, a lot of what the shit that he's saying, and I think it's hitting. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's hitting with a younger crowd as much as it's hitting with the older crowd. Who there actually is an older crowd now, or before there really wasn't. That's another weird thing, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean. It's,
for sure. Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know how it's doing with a younger crowd. It might be hitting in a different way, but I just feel like being older, I feel like I can relate to it more than I ever would have when I was younger.
Yeah, I think it definitely it's what a lot of, without trying not to sound conceited, but I think it's what a lot of people need right now, especially like people that are like still in the same thing, are getting older and things are changing, and like this year is so mentally draining on so many people. But I also think that it is a record that can relate to younger kids that don't necessarily see those things in the lyrics like an older person would. Like, I think musically and all that, it like definitely clicks with younger people.
Yep. And I think it's something that they'll grow into.
Yeah,
if that
exactly.
sounds stupid, but
yeah. Oh no, for sure. I completely think that.
All right. Before we get into Essex, what do you do? What's your day job?
I build websites for car dealerships.
Okay.
So I had this is a funny, like, and this is another thing that I lucked into with Bane. Like, I have a really good friend in Toronto, this guy Brent Weiss, and I had, like, towards the end of Bane, we had gone through Toronto, and I had chatted with him. Like, he did the first Only Crime layout for the LP, and like I chatted with him, and I was kind of like, what am I gonna do when I'm done with this? Like, because we knew the end of Bane was coming, obviously.
Yeah.
A couple years in advance.
And what were you do? Sorry, what were you doing while you were in Bane? I know you were on the road a lot, but I mean, obviously, I was never on the road as much as you guys. But I know we would come back from tour, and I'd have a pizza job or something to go to, or if I was lucky. What were you guys doing?
I was working at a coffee shop, and I was also for the end of Bane, I was a dog walker. So like I worked for like two
Flexible.
friends of mine. Yeah, like they were super awesome. Like, actually, one of the guys is from up your area. I forget the name of his band. He used to be in a band up there called like Fist something, or Sweet Fist.
Okay.
Was it Sweet Fist?
I don't know.
But he knew like Converge and Bane. It was weird. It was like this weird intertwining of worlds, because I didn't know him, but I went to the interview, and he's like, "Oh, hey, Aaron, what's up?" And I was like, and I met him at a coffee shop.
Okay.
And like I didn't make eye contact with him. I was like, "How do you know me?" He's like, "Oh, I used to see Bane Converge, blah blah blah." Because it was a very like, and like,
yeah,
you
that's
wouldn't
weird.
have known by looking at it. It was funny.
Right.
But
those experiences are always weird.
yeah, it's always weird, but awesome at the same time.
Yeah. I had I had the daycare that my kids went to.
Yeah.
Like 2-3 years into them going there, my wife was talking to two of the teachers there, and I guess she must have had like one of my shirts on, like an old 10-year fight shirt on or something, because it came up, and they were these two teachers like, "Oh, we used to go see that band all the time." And then at the end of the conversation, she's like, "You know, that's my husband sang for the band." And they were like, "What? Are you kidding?" Because I would go there, to drop the kids off. But I mean, I was a lot heavier too at that point, so maybe they just didn't put it together or whatever. But I thought that was, and then I was afraid to go back because I was like, "That's gonna be weird."
Punished at a daycare.
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, those are like funny stories, but
yeah. So like towards the end of the day, my friend Brent was like, this is like a conference every summer for car dealerships and stuff called NADA.
Okay.
And he was in Vegas one year, and he texted me in the middle of the night, and he was like, when you go ahead when you wake up, send your resume to this email. And it was for this job, for this company in Chicago that builds car dealership websites. And the dude that works there that I emailed was a huge Bane fan, which is this weird, like,
Nice.
and it was like a dude that when I met him, I would never even thought that, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I ended up getting a job there, and I've been there since, you know? So it's good. It gets a little monotonous, but it's good.
So is that remote then, obviously?
Yeah, I've been remote since I started. I'd go out there every 3 months. I'd go out for like a week or so and work in the office. But now, I mean, everybody is remote now, obviously.
Right. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
So how did the coffee fit? How did you get into roasting coffee? Because that's not something that most people just do.
So I've always loved coffee. I don't know if you even remember that, but like I've always, especially on the road, like I'd always find coffee, and that was just
right
what I've always done. And when I stopped touring, I decided to like get into roasting, and I just like kind of like fell right into it and just jumped right in. And I was just doing it for fun. And like there's a coffee shop in Salem called Front Street.
Yep.
That the owners that actually I met you there with Chris one day.
Yeah. That's right.
And the owners, I'd go down there and work my day job there. And I was talking to Chris and Brenda, the owners, and they were like, you should try just roasting and doing it and blah, blah, blah. And Jennifer, my wife, was like, you just got to do it. And then finally I was like, all right, January of 2018, I was like, I'm just going to do it and see what happens. And I did it. And that place, Front Street, started at the very beginning. They were like, all right, we'll just use like 10 pounds of your coffee a week and see how it goes. And it went from that to them like switching their bean from, they've been around for 24 years, I think, as a shop.
Okay.
And they do the same coffee till like late 2018 when they switched to me.
And then they use you exclusively, basically?
Yeah.
Wow,
so
that's
like,
awesome.
It's after like 20 plus years of using this one person, they switched, which was awesome. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So that really gave me the boost that I needed to like really get into it, you know? And then my original goal was, I'm kind of fast forwarding a little bit, but my original goal was by the end of this year now that I would be doing it full time and be able to say, all right, do I want to stay at my day job and just like have it for insurance and stuff and like, or just go full time with coffee and just quit my job.
Yeah.
But with COVID and all that, so many cafes closing down and not doing as much business. And I mean, current cafes not wanting to make big changes and getting a different supplier from beans, you know, it's tough. So now I'm postponing that for another year or so, I think.
Yeah. But is it going, all things considered though, it's still going pretty well?
Yeah, it's going well.
It's just a little bit of a setback.
Yeah, it's a little bit of setback. For sure. A little bit of setback now. I'm trying to like, I'm staying afloat. you know?
Right. Yeah, it sounds like a familiar story. If you're staying afloat, you're doing well, I think.
Exactly. As I was just gonna say, you know, I'm not going under, which is great. Like, luckily, the way I do things now, it makes it easy to stay afloat, I guess. Like, I mean, I've lost a few clients from COVID, like shutting down or closed down for a large amount of time. But like the way I have it, I work with a friend up in Massachusetts. We kind of have a co-op situation where like I roast on his machine right now. So it's like I don't have any overhead unless I have to roast coffee.
Well, I was going to say, so how does that process work? I have no idea what the equipment is needed or what you start with. Like what do you get? What are the raw materials? I mean, obviously a bean, but is it green or how does that?
I work with three. There's, I mean, so many different coffee importers, but I work with these three different importers exclusively, essentially. And I mean, they're like, compared to me, they're giant companies, but I pick these importers because they work directly with the farmers. They make sure that they're treated well, and they go with these farmers year after year to make sure that the farmers can grow their business and like expand and have a good life. Because a lot of bigger companies, like anything, the big companies, most of them stop caring about the little people or like where it comes from, or they just look for the green.
Right.
But the three importers that I use work very closely with their farmers and make sure everything's good. So I get my beans from them, which are these like they're green. The green beans are seed. Coffee beans are coffee seeds, essentially. It's a bit of a coffee cherry. It's like these two. If you look at your coffee beans, that's two halves of one like seed.
Okay.
It's like a pit of a coffee cherry, and they break in half. So I get like these weird. They smell. It almost smells like grass almost when you get them.
Okay.
It's these green coffee beans, and they ship them. I order them from the importer, and I get them in pallets usually, like big burlap sacks that are like 100 to 160 pounds of each bean, of whichever I want. Like, say I wanted to go get like order a new Guatemalan bean.
Yep.
Between the three importers that I use, I could probably have anywhere from 10 to 25 different Guatemalan beans from different farms, and they could all taste completely different.
Okay.
It's funny. Like it's such a gigantic world that if you're not in it, you don't have any idea how vast the world can be. So like when I'm picking my coffee that I want to have from like my Guatemalan bean, like I go for what I like, but I also get to be like, all right, well, what's everybody else gonna like? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's not necessarily what I want, like.
Okay.
So like, I'm not a really big fan of like Sumatra, but I'm still gonna have one of it because I know a lot of people like it.
Right.
So I order the green beans from the importers. I get them shipped, and then you roast it. And roasters vary in sizes. The one that I use, I roast 30 pounds. I do smaller roasts, but it can do about 30 pounds of green coffee beans at a time.
Okay.
And then you lose moisture in the bean, so you lose some weight in that. So you get about 25-ish pounds out of that 30 pounds.
So this might sound like a stupid question. They're actually the different types. I really know nothing about this. Even I drink so much coffee, I should. But when there's different roasts and different blends, those are actually come from different plants, or is it more dependent on, is it the plant, but also the way you roast it, or like a combination of the two, or?
If you, the blends are just different farms, essentially, like different plants. Yeah.
Okay.
So you could have a blend of one of mine, I have a blend that I used for that place, Front Street, that was an espresso blend, and it's like two different South American beans and one from India.
Okay.
And it's like those three beans combined, and then you roast them.
But you can have like a dark roast as opposed to a lighter roast, but with the same bean, and it'll taste different. Okay. All right.
So I use that, and I've done it for a few other clients, like that same blend that I use for the espresso blend for this one shop, I can roast it a lot lighter, and somebody else will use it for like a breakfast blend.
Okay.
And it'll taste completely different, but it's the same beans.
Gotcha.
Like you could roast a bean and take it out, or roast it for 15-20 seconds longer or shorter, and it could taste so much different. It's crazy.
Okay. Wow.
It's a combination of like air and like heat and that constant movement of that too that changes the flavor.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Yeah. Yes. All right. Go on with what you're saying. I've always wondered that because I never really looked into it.
It's a whole different world that like I had no idea until I got into it.
Yeah, it's like a science.
Like coming from obviously like somebody that doesn't drink, and you won't understand either, but like I equate it kind of like to craft beer though.
Yeah. Or
like,
wine, I guess, different grapes
yeah,
and different, yeah.
yeah, like there's so many different, but every single one can taste completely different.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what's cool about coffee. It's like you don't want to drink the same coffee every day if
Yeah.
you can. Like I mean, me personally, I like having a variety of different things. Like, I mean, I don't even want to drink my own coffee every day.
Right.
Like,
Right.
um, but everybody else should. Everybody else should drink my coffee.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, so I get the beans and we roast them. Um, that's I usually roast one day every other week because I roast everything to order, so things aren't just sitting on the shelf. So like,
So it's fresh.
yeah. Like I'll roast every 2 weeks and I'll have that, and then like if I'll use those beans, and if orders come in after a certain point, they sit until I roast the next week. Like on my website, I have, like orders will be shipped, be roasted within 5 to 7 days, just because I want to make sure I get the people the freshest roasted beans that I possibly can.
Right. No, that's good. I mean, that makes sense, and it keeps the overhead manageable as well, I would imagine too.
Yeah. So just sitting on a ton of beans. So
as far as the business side of things with that, how do you feel like coming from a lot of people will say that a band is basically like a small business. Do you feel that doing bands for so many years has helped with this venture into, starting your own business?
yeah, for sure. I mean, I definitely think it has. I mean, it's made me more aware of things I think that some people wouldn't necessarily know about. Like, as silly as it seems, is like shipping things, and like I can't even count the amount of people that I know have started businesses, and then like a year down the line they're like, I've totally screwed myself with all the shipping and like blah blah blah, and like
Yep.
shipping out demos or shirts or whatnot. Like this is
Factor
like,
that in. Yeah.
yeah, like even like if you're losing $1 a shirt or $1.50 a shirt, or as a band, that adds up. Like,
Yeah.
and just trying to keep the money. I mean, obviously any business, when you start, you're going to have debt, and any band, when you start, you're going to have debt, but trying to keep that low, or not letting it get away or get larger. Like,
Right.
that, I mean, that's kind of what I've learned, is so many bands burn out because they've just owe so much money, or just keep digging themselves a hole,
Yeah. I think even just the balls to just start something.
Yeah.
I don't think most people would even have that in them, a lot of them, or even know how to go about bootstrapping something,
I think that's a big, I think I totally agree. I think the drive of like being in a band or starting a band or something like that, it comes from the world that we grew up in, like, I mean, like even my wife, who's like, she grew up in hardcore and punk rock, and then like not many people, like she's a home birth midwife, and like how many people really have that like drive to be like, you know what, I'm gonna go do this. I could be in jail, but I'm gonna do it for the better. Or like, what I mean? Like,
Right.
I mean, not a lot of people do that. It takes a certain kind of person. I think that's what attracts people to do bands, are like, as cheesy as it sounds, not like, I don't know, you just have this drive that you don't get in a lot of other places.
Yeah, no, it's you're putting yourself out there, but you're also going up against what, might seem like really bad odds a lot of times.
And in the bottom, I mean, you obviously, like in a band or a business, you want it to thrive and be well and do well, but at the same time, you're doing it because you want to do it. And like,
right.
Similar to Bane, it's like, I mean, I want Essex Coffee to do great, and I want to be able to do it as a full-time thing. But like with Bane too, like we wanted to do it and we had fun with it, and that's all that really mattered. Like I love roasting coffee. Like if it wasn't like the actual act of roasting coffee is what I like more than anything else. If I could have somebody else do all my sales and like try to get new clients, that'd be awesome. And I could just roast coffee.
I hear you. The business part of things and especially trying to keep up with social media and marketing and yeah,
It's a totally different world.
that's the tough. Yeah, I can't. I mean, I suppose bands have to deal with that shit these days too. I mean, you would know better than me, but
Dude, Brian does it with Be Well, and it's insane.
yeah,
Like, you know, right now he's not really recording any band, so he doesn't have as much going on, but like he's on top of that, which is great.
yeah, that's been for me. I've been trying to figure all that stuff out for what I'm doing, and it's just, oh my god, I know I'm doing it wrong, but you know, I'll figure it out eventually, I guess. But
Yeah.
so with obviously, it sounds like the whole 2020 COVID deal set you back a bit. But do you have, where do you see it going? What do you see happening with Essex? You know, once this shit kind of clears up. I mean, I know you said trying to take it full time, but ideally, where would you like to see it go? You know,
I mean, honestly, like we're in a new area, which is good and bad, I guess. I mean, it's good, but it's obviously I have to start from scratch and find. Like I still have my handful of clients that I'm keeping. The good thing about being in Bane for so long is I have like clients that have been related to Bane somehow, which have worked out awesome. Like the Nile Theater in Phoenix, in Mesa, Arizona. Like I supply them with coffee, and I have like 2 places in Massachusetts. You know, like I have places around that like aren't where I live, which is good.
yeah,
And like 1 in Chicago, so it's like
yeah.
now I get to establish myself here and like find new places, and which is good. I mean, I'm hoping in the next year, like my goal, I actually came up with the idea I'm going to make we've only been a 1 vehicle family since forever, actually.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get a high top van and make a coffee truck.
Oh,
That's
okay.
also be like my delivery and roasting vehicle.
Okay.
So I'm going to make this like, because even if I could do it sooner than later, because nobody can really go inside. So it's actually the perfect thing, you know, like it's another vehicle, but I'm going to make a coffee truck because I don't want to own a cafe.
Right.
That's not really something
It's
I
a
really
lot of
want.
overhead.
Yeah. Like if it was a roasting facility that I built out down here and had like a walk-up cafe, that's different, but it'd be cool to have just like a coffee truck and be able to go to events and like just spread the word a little bit more, you know?
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Do
Yeah.
you have probably gonna wrap up here in a second. I don't want to keep you too long, but any other plans with the band, with Be Well or Only Crime or coming up for next year that you're looking forward to, like, assuming that things pan out?
We've been chatting. We do it every 6 months. Like Only Crime starts chatting about getting together and writing stuff, but we'll see what happens. Because I'm sure once things open up, the people that are in bands now are going to be on the road as much as possible, because the bands, in a financial and a mental way, are going to be clamoring to get out and play. You know, like it's going to be once shows happening again, I think it's going to be absolutely insane for a while.
Yeah.
I think shows going to be bonkers for everybody. So hopefully Only Crime writes and gets together. I mean, who knows? Could be 3 years from now, but but I know that Be Well, as soon as we can start playing his shows again, we're going to play shows. We just want to get out and play, and we haven't been able to play a show since the LP came out.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I forgot to mention, you guys just sold out in like an hour. Didn't you just sell out like a live stream event?
So yeah, it's like, so we're gonna. It's more of like a hangout and like
Okay.
streaming some like unreleased songs and B-sides and stuff.
Okay.
Um, we were weird about doing a live stream because one, I feel like I don't know. Now I feel like it's almost played out.
Okay.
Um,
It depends on what for me, I would feel awkward.
yeah. And I feel like it's like as a viewer, I feel like you get bored after a little bit. I don't know.
I think
Like,
it's people like it, but I know what you're saying because for me, without the interaction, it seems strange. I never
yeah,
even liked people watching us practice,
yeah,
because it just felt awkward.
yeah. But we'll see. I mean, we want to play, but that stream thing is just kind of like we wanted to do something just to be able to like because we've gotten so much positive feedback about the LP even without playing shows, so we just want to like it's almost like a thank you. I don't know. Just want to like hang out and like play some of the B-sides that nobody's ever heard and just do whatever, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So, but yeah, we can't wait to play shows. We were supposed to have our record release show in October.
Well,
And
those are
these,
going to be, I think those are going to be crazy.
I hope, man. Those, oh yeah, we actually, no, right before the COVID hit, we played in Massachusetts with Hot Water too. That's right.
Yeah, that's right. I think I was at a wedding. That happened that's where I was at the last Bane show because we had 2 tickets. My wife ended up going without me. She brought a friend from work or something because I got a last minute wedding booking, which was one of those things that sucked,
Yeah.
but it was kind of hard to turn the money down at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that sounds great. And then obviously you're going to keep going with Essex. Anything you want to plug? Anything? Where can people find everything you're doing? I know
Be
there's
Well is Be Well HC on Instagram and Facebook. EssexCoffeeRoasters.com and Essex Coffee Roasters at Instagram. And as you know, I think, well, it's still going on, but the bass player from Bane, Brendan Stu McGuire, is battling pancreatic cancer.
Yeah.
So anybody can help with that. There's, if you look for I'm with Stu, there's fundraisers on the internet with that. That anything you can help with.
Is that a GoFundMe? It's a GoFundMe, right?
Yeah, it's a GoFundMe. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. If you just Google that, and I'll look that up and put that in the notes too.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanna hit on?
I think that's about it. With coffee stuff, we're getting a lot more. I'm rolling out some new beans that I haven't had yet.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
Some tea too. We actually started to carry some tea, which is awesome.
I was gonna say, yeah. Tell people where they can pick up some coffee. I mean, it's on your website, but is it just you can just order on the website?
Yeah, yeah. So if you go to EssexCoffeeRoasters.com, right now the way it's set up, you'll get shot over to the Big Cartel store, but the link is on the website.
Okay, cool.
And yeah, everything is roasted to order. It fluctuates often, the selections that we have, because we tend to change it up as much as we can and try to use the freshest green beans when we get them. So the offerings that we have on there will change quite frequently, but we usually have 6, 7, 8 different origins or blends, and also again we have some teas now. We have like 3 different teas on there, and we're getting like 3 or 4 more in the next week or 2. So.
Oh, cool. I'm gonna have to go pick some up myself.
Awesome. I'll send.
All right, dude. All right, thanks so much.
All right, man. Talk to you soon.
All right, later. All right, hope you liked that episode with Aaron Dulbeck. If you get a chance, please leave us a review in iTunes or Spotify or wherever you're listening to this. It really helps build awareness, and it would mean a lot to me. Also, don't forget to check out our 6-part docuseries that's now available for purchase or rental. You can learn more about that and everything else we're working on at codecprojects.com, CODECPROJECTS.com, and check out everything we have going on over there. The Don't Stand in Line docuseries is still up for sale. It's also available for rent. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Codec Projects. All right, see you next week.